Hello guys, so I have not done a video for a while, my apologies. I have not been as active on the channel and really it should be. And today I'm going to do something different. I've done, well, something kind of similar before, but right now I'm in a position where I'm potentially considering getting another flat. And really I don't know whether it's worth it or not. So let me give you some details. I'm going to analyze it live in this video and do the calculations and arguments live in this video. There's definite pros, there's definite cons, and I don't know what's going to win. I don't know what the decision will be, so bear with me and I hope you enjoy the video. So, this one is a 3-bedroom flat in the east side of Glasgow. It is not far from where I live. We already have a property really close to that, which is also a 3-bedroom. Let's have a look inside. So we have got one of the bedrooms here. As you can tell, they have started to plaster it. So I think they've just stuck plasterboards on top of the old wall and started just patching it in and plastering it. So one room is getting there. That's obviously the first photograph because that's the best looking one. Then you've got another room here. There's a bit of plumbing work that will need to get done. But yeah, they've ripped everything out and they're already starting the plastering. So it looks like a complete mess, but actually I see a lot of potential there. Then you've got the kitchen here with the boiler. So all of it has been ripped out and yeah, they again started to do some of the work. Not too much, but some of the work. Then this is, I think this is another room. It looks better in photos than it does in real life. Again, I've done some of it here. Then you've got living room, which has got all the rubbish, so all of that will have to get all uplifted, which is fine because we can bag it all up, spend quite a while, but bag it all up and take it away. I've got an estate car, so really I can get all this removed for free. The ceiling is alright. There's been some wet patches and a bit of mold and stuff, so that will have to get treated with anti-mold and make sure that's all good before the new plasterboards will go on. But it's all being stripped. A lot of rubbish everywhere, but very good size flat. And yeah, I'm really stuck with that one. You can look at the floor plan here. You know, you've got the lounge, 4.6 by 3.75 meters, very big. All bedrooms are decent size, 3.4 by 2.1, 3.5 by 3, 3.8 by 3.15, but yeah, very decent sized bedrooms. So overall, could be a very good asset. It's also ground floor, which means that this wee garden up to this point, if you were to do a separation here, will belong to the property as well. So you can have a wee couple of chairs here, you can put a wee fence around, so it can have a lot of potential. So what are we with this one? It's a guide price of £50,000 and it's an auction, so we don't know where it's gonna go. So let's open up a spreadsheet and then just start analyzing it. I'm gonna just talk to you guys, talk to the camera, give you my true thoughts, my worries. I'm not gonna pretend to be some educated that knows exactly what they're talking about. It's a difficult one because part of me really likes that it's close to me, really likes for it to be part of the portfolio. Another part of me not long ago finished the refurb and understands how hellish it can be to do the refurb. It's a lot of work, a lot of money, a lot of things can go wrong. I need to project manage it. I need to make sure things are progressing. I need to sometimes source the materials. The people are sometimes not easy to work with, so it's not an easy ride. So price, this will depend. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to be. I believe because it's sold in this condition, you don't need to pay the additional dwelling supplement. That's something that I'll maybe need to check, and I'm paying for the ChatGPT obviously, so let's double check. Hello, so I have a question for you. I am looking to potentially buy a flat in Easterhouse in Glasgow. It's a 3 bedroom flat. It's been fully ripped out, so there's no bathroom, no kitchen. Everything is fully stripped, and really I want to buy it, continue the refurb, put a new bathroom, new kitchen, new floors, new ceilings, everything else in. With that in mind, would I be liable to pay the additional dwelling supplement for this flat?
In Scotland, the additional dwelling supplement is typically based on whether you already own another residential property and on the purchase price, not the condition of the property itself. So even though the flat is stripped out and uninhabitable right now, if you're buying it as an additional property, you'd still likely need to pay the supplement. Of course, you may want to get individual advice from a solicitor to confirm your exact situation.
Okay, but I thought uninhabitable properties actually qualified for not having to pay the ADS.
It's a really common question, but the additional dwelling supplement doesn't depend on whether a property is habitable. It's really about whether you're buying an additional residential property. Even if the place is fully stripped, it's still considered a dwelling. If it's your second property, that's what triggers the ADS.
Okay, so you can't always trust ChatGPT, but it's saying that we'll need to pay Scotland ADS on uninhabitable property. So yeah, quite interesting because if the property is uninhabitable, unintended for demolition or substantial reconstruction. Okay. If you buy uninhabitable with an intention to rebuild or later sell, you may reclaim. Okay, so it's actually not clear. We might need to double check potentially with someone like a solicitor what the situation is with that one. So we'll need to just factor it in. So there potentially needs to be an ADS, which is going to be that times by 8%. Also, it said in the ad that the property is unmortgageable. I don't know why, but that seems to be the case. So it will probably need to be a cash buy. There's going to be a solicitor fee, usually about £1,700 for the solicitor that we use. There will then have to be a refurb. So the stuff that we know, the big item, the big ticket item is a rewire. If it needs a rewire, that's £3,500 gone like that. If it doesn't need a rewire, we can just change the consumer unit, add a few sockets and stuff. That can be less than £1,000, so that we could potentially do quite well there. So for this one, if you do well, we're going to be 1,000. If you don't do well, we'll potentially be, yeah, maybe with a discount I'll get £3,500. So yeah, not cheap. So that's one that could be needed. Boiler seems to be relatively old. I don't know if it's functioning or not. If it needs to be replaced, you could potentially be looking at 2.5. You need all new radiators. That's just there are the outlets but no radiators. So you're looking at 3 bedrooms, etc. Potentially £1,200 for radiators. What we will then need in terms of materials is kitchen. So we would buy a kitchen. Usually we buy it from somebody else and then get extra bits and pieces. So with that in mind, you could potentially allow about 2,500. Then we need bathroom. Usually we buy that new. You need the toilet, the shower cabin. Yeah, you can potentially be looking at maybe 1,500 in materials for that one, and then obviously all the labor on top. We'll be needing to get plywood and plasterboards. So plywood will be for the flooring. Plasterboards will be for the walls and the ceiling. So on the plasterboards,
So those would be with the prices with labor. This would be materials, plywood. I mean, it's not expensive to, even if you do the whole flat, you can potentially be looking at 500 quid. Plasterboards, again, let's put 1,000, but I don't think it's going to be as much as that. Then we need the flooring itself. Usually we'd go for LVT flooring, luxury vinyl, because it's waterproof and it's quite good, but it's not cheap. For that one you'll be, yeah, maybe over £1,000. You could be about 1,500 plus the labor to install it. I think the windows are okay. You're gonna need the front door. That can easily be about 750. Then internal doors. Internal doors can be, yeah, about 100 quid per door, and you can, yeah, you might easily need, there's 3 bedrooms, living room, bathroom, kitchen, 6. There's maybe some internal ones, potentially 8 or 9. So I think we can put 1,000. So this one including labor. Those ones are including labor as well. Then obviously labor. I mean, bathroom, kitchen. They're all gonna take quite a bit of work, so I would allow for enough money. I mean, easily, you know what, I would just, because it's just one guy doing it really, I would allow, if you're doing 5 days, 750, 4 weeks, I would allow like £2,000 and £3,000 potentially for the labor. Then plastering, tiling, all that type of stuff, and other. So that's £5,000, another £2,000 plastering, another 1,000 tiling, 2,000 other. So if we look at the total, is 26k. If we can do without rewire, so if we can go ahead and just replace the consumer unit, that's going to be quite a good saving. We could also go for some more carpets. So there could be a few. We could try to buy a cheaper kitchen on the some on Facebook or something like that. So yeah, regardless of that, will be maybe 23, 22k. But yeah, this is roughly the figure for refurbishment. So what that means is that we'll need to come up with a price that we actually would want to offer in order to get this flat. So one thing that we can do, and I already know it because I know the area, but in here you can see the property sale history. There's nothing, but recently sold nearby. There was one property, yeah, one property sold nearby in January for 62,000, which is a 3-bedroom. That seems very, very good and very cheap. I don't know the condition of that property, obviously. Then there was this one that was sold. That's the one that we own actually, so it was sold for 75. Then our neighbour's one is not in amazing condition. It was sold for 90. I think some of those other ones, for example, this one here, 55 last year, and that seems to be very, very low. So it's actually advertised here. Let's have a look. There was no. Okay, this one. Okay, it looks. You can see from here.
It's quite a bad picture, but it looks like it was really messy. It looks like that needed pretty much a full refurb as well. And that was sold for 55 last year. But really, I think we can base it on, it's a bit tricky to do it like that, but we can base it on the £90,000 one, because that was a real sale of the neighbour's one. I think our one was undervalued at 75. I think in reality was 80, 85. So I think in decent condition, 90, 95 is achievable for a flat in that area. A lot of it, remember, is as well people transferring it from personal name to company, trying to get a slightly lower value. So there's a lot of messing around that goes on there. But I think in reality, 90, like being conservative, 90,000 with a good refurb is very much achievable. So, final price will be 90. Purchase price will be whatever we are willing to pay for it, and the refurb is going to be this much. Unfortunately, because it's an auction, there's an auction fee, and that's £3,600. So if you look at the total, it's going to be purchase price plus our refurb plus our auction fee. We can now mess around and see. So if the guide price is 50k, it's going to start at 50k. There's interest, so it will go up. So say we buy it at 55,000. It's extremely tight. You know, if you buy it at 55,000, we're going to spend 84,550. We potentially will also have to pay ADS. Let's factor that in, because I still don't know whether ADS is avoidable, because we can argue that the condition is not good, or if it's not, and that's going to be that times by 0.08%, as another £4,000. So if we do for that one an addition of the ADS, we are really at 55 ending up at a final value of almost the same. Ideally, what you want to do is you want to get this refurb down to 20 grand, and all of a sudden this the final price, or how much it's worth, becomes 110, 140, whatever those influencers and YouTubers tell you. But maybe it's just where I operate. It doesn't seem to happen for me. So really that tells me that if I pay 60, I'm going to be at 94,350. So I'm going to spend 94,350 on a flat it's going to be worth 90,000. It's always very tricky because there's also the legal fee, remember? So if we factor everything in, plus the legal fee. So you can look at it like that. Or some people, I saw them just taking the purchase price, adding the refurb, and adding the agency fee. So some people just kind of take this ADS as a cost of business and don't really factor it into the calculations, but I don't fully agree with that. But to me, what that means is that if I was to buy this flat for £60,000, I would end up with a total spend of £96,000 for a flat that's going to be worth £90,000. So it's not exactly great business. If nobody was to bid, which I don't think is going to happen, you'll get an £85,000 total spend for a final price of £90,000. Again, not great. But I'm really keen on having a property close to me. I like my portfolio close to me. I know I can achieve really good rental. I can achieve, based on this value, I can achieve 10, 11, 12% yield easily. I know that I can get tenants. I know I can self-manage it. So really, it's a good flat. And if I keep it for the long term, it's going to go up in its value. You're going to get decent rent. If you do a full refurb, it's likely not going to need anything done to it for a really long time. So yes, we're taking a hit on this now, but over the long term, it is a really good asset. But realistically, at 60,000, we are breaking even or making a loss. At 55,000, we are, depending on how you look at it, either making a £5,000 profit or a breaking even. And then obviously at 50,000, you're looking at, yes, making between 10,000 profit if you don't consider ADS legal fee, or 4,750 profit. So 50 is a good price to buy this at. In reality, I think it's going to go up. 55 is almost the break-even point. So above that, I think we're gonna struggle. So really, based on all this analysis, to me that means I can bid, and the maximum I can go for is 55,000. I'll need to contact the solicitor and find out about the ADS, because if this ADS is not payable, you can potentially then go a bit higher, because then that's not payable because it's uninhabitable, and therefore we can bid more. So yeah, a bit of a different video, but that just shows you the pros and cons and the dilemma I've got in my mind when properties like this come up. Unfortunately, it's not the type of property you want to see from YouTube influencers, where, you know, what I see on a lot of videos is purchase price would be 50,000, refurb will be 10,000, and then final value would be 100,000. Unfortunately, where I live in those areas, I don't seem to be able to find those deals, so I'm having to deal with a lot tighter margins, and I have to think a lot more long term and take a bit of a hit at the start to then benefit from it long term. Feel free to comment below what your thoughts are. I will let you know how everything goes with the purchase. One last look for you guys at the property. It has a lot of really good potential. Can easily get a good family living here. It is warm enough. It's going to have a decent EPC rating once it's all insulated and in good refurbished state. So it does have a lot of advantages for sure. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next one.